Hi, my name's Dave Hitz, and I'm one of the co-founders of NetApp. My goal in this segment is to step up a little bit and help partners understand who is NetApp. What are we really about? At the very highest level, I would say NetApp is a company that sells big boxes of disk drives. In some cases, we sell them to technical customers, people designing new chips, designing cars, any kind of physical product, CAD/CAM. We also sell to a lot of enterprise customers, both large enterprise and mid-size enterprise, in which case we're helping them run their Oracle databases, their payrolls, their financials. But here's the trick. We sell giant boxes of disk drives, but we don't make the disks, and mostly we don't make the boxes. So that really begs the question, what is NetApp about? And I think the best way to understand that is to imagine that you're a CIO and you've got 1,000 disks or 10,000 disks, or in the case of some of our largest customers, 100,000 disks or more, and your challenge is to do everything you have to do to protect and use the data on those disks. So first of all, you don't want to lose any of it. What if a disk breaks? You can still get to the data. What if a building full of disks burns down? There's another copy of the data someplace else. And then you start to get to the tricky stuff like, what if someone from the SEC comes in and says, what did your CEO know and when did he know it? And you start digging through, how do you find the data that they're looking for? And even after you've found it, how do you prove to them that the data sitting on your disks representing email from 5 years ago, that nobody's tampered with it? Now you're starting to get more to the issues, the real business challenges that a CIO has. And that's the perspective that NetApp takes. How do we help deal with all of those business challenges associated with owning thousands or tens of thousands of disks worth of data? If you look at the history of NetApp, it helps you understand a little bit our focus. We really grew up in the dot-com boom, and our initial focus during that period was primarily on tech companies. A lot of internet companies, Yahoo, Amazon, AOL, a lot of tech companies doing tech design, Cisco, Intel, people doing chip design. Then came the tech crash. That was tough, right? I think that was tough on everybody. What allowed NetApp to survive was a changing focus. Clearly we still do a lot of work with tech customers, but we really changed our focus to focus on enterprise customers. People not just developing their new products or supporting internet sites, people running their business, their payrolls, their financials, running big Oracle databases. And that was a big transition for us. It required all sorts of changes. Clearly the product needed to change, but in addition, we just needed to rethink how we do business. A lot of work on partnerships with other companies selling in that same zone, partnering with Oracle, partnering with Microsoft. In a lot of cases, those enterprise customers have particular partners that they would prefer to buy from. And so we had to learn a lot more about partnering in that way. How do we just achieve everything that the customer wants as we deploy into that part of their data center? Let me talk just briefly about some of the key differentiators. And we'll have more segments that go into a lot more detail. So my goal is not to dive deep, but just to be kind of at the very highest level, what are we trying to accomplish? Unified storage, SAN, NAS, iSCSI, all in a single box. I think that's an especially interesting one because that not only helps customers, they don't have to worry so much about which box do I buy. Do I buy a high-end Clarion or a high-end Symmetrix or a mid-size Clarion or Centera one system does it all. So it just makes it easier for the customer. But I think in the context of working with partners, makes it easier for the partner as well. You don't have to worry about which of all of these different boxes do I sell. Data ONTAP, it's the same OS everywhere. And you can learn the capabilities, learn the features, and then at the very end, when you're actually deploying a particular application, you can work with the customer to figure out, well, should this particular case be NAS or SAN or iSCSI? It changes it to a much more convenient time in the selling cycle. One of the things we focused on a lot is virtualizing storage. How do we make storage easy to manage, easy to use, treat it as a virtual thing? Particular features in this area, thin provisioning. How many times does a user at a customer site ask for a terabyte LUN or a 5 terabyte LUN, and you look at that, the customer looks at that 5 months later, and of the 5 terabytes they asked for, they've only used half a terabyte. Thin provisioning lets you reclaim that. Cloning makes it so easy to make a copy of some data, often for test and development. And finally, deduplication. All of these are features that really get into, you see the storage, it looks like it's there, but through the power of virtualization, we can we can help make it easier to manage. And those features line up so well with VMware as well, which is obviously a really hot topic these days. Storage-based data protection, having the storage system itself do backup and do archiving. That's so valuable for the customers. And again, it fits so well with VMware because in many cases, the agents in VMware chew up CPU cycles. You don't want to do that. So a good linkage there. And finally, and I think this is one of the most important areas that we focus on, how do we integrate more tightly with applications? And the reason this matters is because, again, if you think of it from the CIO's perspective, from the customer's perspective, the customer doesn't care about storage, really. The customer's got some business problem they want to solve. They want to build a new chip, or they want to run Exchange, they need email, or they want to handle an Oracle Financials or any Oracle application. How can we make the storage link more tightly to those applications? And that's where the whole Snap Manager family of products comes in. Snap Manager for Exchange, Snap Manager for Oracle, coming soon, Snap Manager for VMware. And I think that actually fits very well with partners as well, because in many cases, the partners we work with, you guys, your primary focus is not storage. Your primary focus is going to be Exchange or Oracle and all of the infrastructure around that. If we can make it easier for you to make the Exchange environment better, the Oracle or the VMware environment better, that's extra value to you. I'd like to close by talking a little bit about the history of our selling model at NetApp. James Lau and I, two engineers starting this company, our original goal was to build a product so easy to use, so easy for customers that we would not need any direct sales force. Now, obviously that hasn't, in fact, we even considered the name 1-800-STORAGE, and it just hasn't turned out that way. But I think when you look at that model and when you look at what we're trying to do today, especially the linkage to the application, it really does create an opportunity for NetApp to have a whole new way of doing business with partners. Thank you very much.